Yo, what's going on? I just took some sinus medicine, so I'm struggling a little bit. What's up? I'm Marcus. I appreciate y'all for tuning in where we do attorney reactions to current events and trending news. I actually had a whole nother video planned, but in the last video that I posted, I saw this question like a bunch of times. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do a video on this question. I wanted to talk about the employees of Dalton not having life insurance. I was like, please don't nobody die. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I wanted to talk about the hiring of a new police chief, what was which was also ridiculous. But because this question came up, I was like, I'm gonna address this question. It's a lot of reading. I actually had to put some stuff up on a Word document. But we're gonna get through it. I'm gonna let y'all be the decision makers on if Tiffany Henyard's counsel, Mr. Brindley, uh, engaged in professional misconduct. As always, if you get some value out of this content, hey, stick around. You might see something you like. And if you do, I invite you to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. And shout out to everybody in the chat, Lady Luck Club, Lady Luck Club, Royster, everybody, Brown Sugar. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I got your email too. I'm gonna email you back. I'm not going to give you who I use, but I'm going to give you the top three that I looked at when I did my search. So I got you. I did see it. I just didn't get a chance to reply back, but I got you. So I'm a little slow, but your boy going to come through. Before we dive into the main story about Mr. Brindley, I wanted to just take this time to take a look inward. We always looking outside of what's going on everywhere else, but in true to form, when there's a shit show going on within the District of Columbia, I want to make sure that I highlight it. So we're going to start out by turning to DC politics. Our own Ward 8 council member who was indicted on federal bribery charges. Let's take a look and see how his situation is playing out. We're going to talk about it. And I don't know if you recall, we went through the indictment, which was hilarious. And he's screwed. It was enough evidence there, video, audio footage. It was the perfect setup. And by setup, I don't mean he didn't do anything wrong and he was set up to look like he did something wrong. By setup, I mean he should have known the person who was interacting with him was probably disingenuous and it was probably setting him up for to take a big L because it was just ridiculous. But we went through the indictment. We looked at the chances of him actually being ousted. Lo and behold, he actually was ousted. But more importantly, I want y'all to pay attention to the voters in this video because voters are wild. We're going to dive in and talk about it. Let's get it.
For the first time in its history, the D.C. Council has expelled a sitting member. Of course, the FBI arrested now former Ward 8 Council member Trayon White back in August amid federal bribery charges. He's now been stripped of his office.
Fox 5's Tom Fitzgerald watching as the vote happened live from the Wilson building tonight. It's a big step and also surprising one. Hey, Fitz.
Well, Marina, in a lot of ways, we've known for quite a while now that, with these bribery and federal charges Trayon White was facing, and now this expulsion looming over him, if he did not resign this seat on his own, well, the council was going to move to kick him off this council, and that's exactly what they did today. There are a lot of things going on right now with this former councilman. As you know, he faces federal charges after his arrest by the FBI back in August. He's accused of accepting more than $156,000 in 4 visits in exchange for arranging contracts for an associate. Now, during this case, he has pleaded not guilty, but that is the criminal case. This was a different procedure today. Expulsion from the council. One of the council members who led the investigation, Kenya McDuffie, said today that with this expulsion move, it is not a judgment on whether or not Trayon White was guilty or innocent in his criminal case. Rather, they were deciding today whether he violated DC's code of conduct.
Now, real quick, I don't know. Sometimes voters, we got to do better. So let me give it a quick recap before y'all see Trayon White's supporters on the screen. indicted for federal bribery charges. Terrible facts. He's probably going to have to take a plea agreement, or an alternative, if he want a sweetheart deal, he better have some information on somebody higher up in the food chain than himself, which I think is unlikely. But nonetheless, he's indicted on federal bribery charges. He keeps his name on the ballot. He doesn't leave. An election comes. He's reelected. They vote him in damn near unanimously. He wins with flying colors. Now the council has voted to expel him, so he's losing his seat. But this isn't the end of it. He's actually going to probably, I would say it's a 97.9% chance that he's going to actually end up back in his seat because he's been expelled. Because he's been expelled from the city council, taxpayers have to pay $400,000. $400,000 to hold a special election to put a new council member in his seat. Now, guess what do you think is going to happen? He's, of course, going to put his name to run for that special election and actually win. It's crazy. He's going to actually win and regain his seat that he was just expelled from, and it's going to cost the taxpayers $400,000. Now, once he eats a conviction, that's a whole different thing. They'll go through a process to remove him again. Then he won't be. But it's absolutely ridiculous that they're paying $400,000 to put the same guy back on who already tried to finesse him out of their money. And people are just like blindly supporting him. Now, I will tell you, there's a big distinction between him and his conduct and any conduct that we talk about with Tiffany Henyard. Generally, outside of this bribe, he was regarded as an actual competent politician who looked out for the people in his community. So he got a little bit of leverage where he wasn't like, always being accused of finessing and disrespectful and locking people out and all this crazy shit. Nah, he generally was regarded as a politician who fight for his constituents. He had a good rapport within the community. Like I said, I met him, I can't even count the number of times, on a professional and personal level. I think he's a decent guy. I mean, I've never had any cause to pause in any of my interactions. But when you try to get money, hey, shout out to the women out there who guys really want them to have a girls trip. But you probably shouldn't try to finesse money for the government to finance your baby mother's girls trip. That's a little crazy. But let's go ahead, check out how the constituents of Ward 8 react. I think it's a little wild, but y'all let me know what y'all think.
While this process is personally difficult for me, it is my duty as a council member, and frankly, today's action is fairly straightforward. It's not a tough question. What's right is right, what's wrong is wrong.
Regarding the bribery allegations, and I am deeply disappointed in this violation of the public trust and know that swift and decisive action from the council is warranted today, and that expulsion is an appropriate sanction.
Now, as is his right, we should say, Trayon White decided not to talk at all today. Same thing he did last week when he sat at the witness table and allowed his attorney to speak for him today. After this was all over, he walked down a flight of stairs, followed by virtually the entire D.C. press corps. He was peppered with a lot of questions, didn't answer any of them. He declined to answer all of them. In fact, even when we asked him if he had a message to the people in Ward 8 who have been standing behind him and supporting him through all of this.
What do you want to say to the supporters? Nothing to the supporters?
You're not the judge or the jury. And when you hold a special election, we're going to vote them in again.
Why don't they do the same with all the other corruption that's going on here?
Because they weren't caught on camera. Like, come on. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like, hey, I don't know. Like, I give politicians a little bit of deference, but when it comes to taking bribes, you can't really trust. Like, again, hey, a politician caught in the room having a good time with some strippers. How are you as a politician outside of the strippers and the drugs? Okay, but when you're taking bribes, that directly impacts the decisions that you're making for your constituents. I'm not saying either option probably isn't good optics, but one generally has no bearing on your ability to do your job, even though you probably shouldn't be using like cocaine. But hey, there's doctors out there who use cocaine and perform open heart surgeries. Not condoning it. I'm just saying there's two different categories of fuck ups. One is more of a personal thing. The other one is a direct impact on your ability to do the job.
In DC.
This expulsion is immediate. Trayon White has already been removed from the website of the DC Council. There's going to be a special election held to fill this Ward 8 seat now. Because he's not been convicted of anything yet in his trial isn't until January 26th. Trayon White could run in this special election again, and if he's reelected, could wind up back on this very same council he got kicked off of today. The U.S. attorney who's prosecuting this federal case told Fox 5 they have no comment at this time. We're live at the Wilson Building tonight. We'll send it back into you.
Whew. So, let's take a
opponents
pause right there. It's a terrible story. Again, I think he was generally regarded as a good politician who looked out for people. But, I mean, one, politicians make a decent salary, but they don't make a lot of money compared to the contractors who they're around 24/7. It's very tempting to stick your hand in the pot, not making excuses for them. Because I'm just be honest, you gotta know better, bro. You gotta know better. You probably one of the youngest guys on the council. Like, yeah, if you fuck up, they're gonna make an example out of you. So the example is being made. Now we're gonna dive into the professional ABA rules of professional conduct. Before we do, I'm gonna let this video play just so everybody know where we at. And your boy gonna go get a swig of water, and then we're gonna jump back in it. So let's go ahead and check this out. 3 minutes. We saw this video. I think I played it the other day, but we're gonna check it out again. Y'all don't even need to see my face. And after this video, we're gonna dive into the rules.
The mayor of Dalton to resign. She is defending herself tonight. Tiffany Henyard says she is staying put and running for re-election. Henyard says if she wins, she will choose employees much more carefully. The mayor of Dalton has had nothing to say in person about the investigation into village finances until today.
I understand everybody want me to be the target. I understand everybody want me to be the bad guy for everything that goes on in the village, but that's not the truth.
Tiffany Henyard met with us and her attorney to comment on the report. They say Henyard released a statement Tuesday, but it didn't get much attention. Henyard says she's being blamed for the actions of others.
You're the boss.
Do everybody know what their employees do? No.
But do you feel responsibility because they were your employees?
I feel responsibility to tell the truth, and that's what I'm doing.
On Monday, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot revealed expenses ballooned during Henyard's tenure that led to a deficit of $3.65 million at one point. Lightfoot reports anything over $5,000 needed trustee approval, but that protocol wasn't followed, and instead the village was paying off expenses from 6 different credit cards that included few receipts from places like Wayfair and Amazon, and over $40,000 for items for an ice skating rink. Henyard contends the expenses were approved and that she was not the one making purchases.
Put the responsibility where it goes. I understand everybody wants to be the mayor. It's not the mayor. It's people put in place.
Lori Lightfoot's not interested in fact, but in spectacle. She's interested in political theater that's going to help her, not the people.
Lightfoot's spokesperson shared a comment which reads in part, Mayor Henyard and others systematically withheld the truth from trustees and the public about the true financial state of the village. The spokesperson goes on to say, the facts speak for themselves, and no amount of spin can overcome the tragic reality of her tenure as mayor of the village of Dalton. A day after the Lightfoot report, social media lit up with videos of a scuffle at a Thornton Township meeting where Henyard is supervisor. Henyard is seen in this video getting involved in the chaos. Her lawyer claims someone from outside Dalton who attended the meeting swung a knife at the mayor's boyfriend.
These men are attacking him with a deadly weapon, and the mayor, fearing for his safety, did go toward that crowd, risking getting hurt herself.
Her attorney claims that coverage of the incident unfairly villainizes Henyard. We should mention no one was arrested or charged in that incident in Thornton Township. Now, meantime, the Dalton board meets on Monday But after what happened in Thornton, Mark and Cheryl, Tiffany Henyard says she's unlikely to attend unless they beef up security.
Okay, there's one thing that myself and Beau Brindley have in common. We both have the same glasses on. I was like, wait, we had the same glasses on. All right, so before we dive into the rules, okay, we know. Hey, I don't know. I tried to make it look like the thumbnail. I was trying to make the thumbnail a little bit creative, so I was like, hey, we got to do something creative since a lot of capping is going on regarding a weapon being used. But before we go into the professional rules of professional conduct, we're going into the ABA rules. ABA rules is kind of how I do everything. I explain most statutes and crimes from a federal level because most times the states model the federal laws. The ABA rules are like the national standard, and most states adopt rules that pattern the ABA rules of professional conduct. But as an attorney, okay, I'm not going to give them an out, but I will tell you, as a defense attorney, I started out as a defense attorney. I was a defense attorney for many years. You have to work with the information, no matter how dumb it is, that your client gives you. Now, of course, if it's something that could be true versus something that's absolutely bullshit, those are two different things that require two different reactions. But I can remember, I'm going to give y'all this story before we jump into this Word document. As a young trial attorney, I had a client, and this guy allegedly at the time robbed the wrong person. He essentially robbed Mary Poppins. Like, this lady volunteered to go to Africa to teach children how to read and write. Like, of anybody you could rob, nobody deserves to be robbed for their belongings. But this dude, like, if this lady popped her umbrella open, she would float the hell away. And so I remember the facts. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. And he argued that he's like, I didn't use this is what he argued. I didn't have a firearm. I was holding my cell phone like this. I was like, bro, you was doing what? So you went up to Mary Poppins with your cell phone like this. Now, unbeknownst to him, Mary Poppins was like well versed in firearms and the firearm typology, as her father, I think, was in law enforcement. She was able to describe this firearm to a T, which ended up matching a firearm that was found in his home. But I remember as he told me the cell phone story, I was just rubbing my head like, man, dude, this is what you're gonna give me to work with. All right, if this is what you give me to work with, I don't know. If you say this is the truth, if this is what you give me to work with, just know you need to get your toothbrush ready because you're gonna have to make a trip. So with that being said, generally, as a defense attorney, you are at the whim of your client to an extent. Now, sometimes they can give you facts which you can ascertain are clearly bullshit, but just remember, I personally think a lot of times, and I could be biased because I started out as a defense attorney. I think defense attorneys typically operate at a deficit because, one, they don't have all the resources of the government, but two, their facts that they have are solely from their client until they get the discovery from the government, which says, nah, bro, actually, we got all this other evidence. Then you look at your client like, you lying ass son of a, you know what. Let me go ahead and check out some of the comments real quick. Otis from yeah, let's see. Yeah, if it was, and we talked about that, if it was a knife with that many people in that clusterfuck of a tight of an area, it would have been people stabbed all over the place. Not if a knife is pulled out and people are testing it like that, it's gonna be a lot of blood everywhere from the person who's trying to stab. It's just inevitable. Yeah, no blood, no knife. Facts. I didn't see that. Hey, they gonna try to have people to corroborate their story. All right, let's go ahead. I want to get through these comments. Lawyer's point of view. Did I give him out? He like, I'm not giving him out. I'm just saying, in general, a defense attorney, the first point of if I got a shingle hang up and someone come in my office, the very first information that I got about what happened is what someone tells me. Now, of course, in this situation, there's video, so I'm not giving them out. I'm just saying, hey, defense attorneys are generally early on in the early stages are at the whim of their clients as to what happens because a lot of times they don't have any discovery. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's see. He said Kamal had scratches on his face, and somebody said those was paws that was put on him. All right, let's go ahead. I'm gonna pull up this Word document that I made. I know I tried to do some real work today. I tried to do some real work because I wanted to get everything down on one page. Let me see. I wanted to get everything down on one page because it would make it easier. So let's see. Share screen. No, not that. And hold on. We want Windows. And I'm gonna put this on the screen just in case y'all want to see it. Okay, but this outlines an attorney's obligation to be truthful to the tribunal, that's the court, or to third parties. And hey, and this is actually pretty self-explanatory. So I'm gonna just go through, read it. I may stop at certain points to either talk about a nuanced topic or to chime in with the comments. All right. Lawyers often rely on their clients to provide them with information and facts to use in the course of a representation, including in litigation. While lawyers do not necessarily have an obligation early in a matter to independently verify the truthfulness of this information in all circumstances, they are obligated to comply with the rules of professional conduct, which prohibits lawyers from knowingly making false statements of material fact or law to others. Rule 4.1 of the ABA Model Rules of Professional Conduct outlines a lawyer's obligation regarding the truthfulness of statements. Specifically, the rule provides that in the course of representing a client, a lawyer shall not knowingly A, make a false statement of material fact or law to a third person, or B, fail to disclose a material fact to a third person when disclosure is necessary to avoid assisting a criminal or fraudulent act by a client, unless disclosure is prohibited by Rule 1.6. Generally, they don't want you to cap, okay? You got an obligation not to make a false statement of a material fact. Saying that there is a knife when there was, in fact, no knife or no evidence of a knife is a material fact, because that is paramount. Because think about it. The addition of the knife to the story takes the obligation takes the possibility of criminal charges being filed against Tiffany Henyard off the table. No knife in that story. She's a third party who's attacking someone with a microphone, which I would argue is a deadly weapon. Insert a knife into the story. Now she's a self-defender trying to defend a third party, and that third party would have the right to defend themselves in that same situation. So definitely a material fact. Or B, failing to disclose a material fact to a third party when disclosure is necessary to avoid assisting a criminal or fraudulent act by a client. Now, B is interesting because B would be the opposite of what they appear to be doing. B would be failing to disclose a material fact to a third party when disclosure is necessary to avoid assisting a criminal or fraudulent act by the client. If he viewed the same footage that we viewed and saw no knife, no blood, no nothing to that effect, he has an obligation to disclose that, hey, there was in fact no knife. So B, failing to disclose, this is exactly what he's doing. He's failing to disclose a material fact. The material fact is that there wasn't a knife. He's failing to disclose a material fact to a third party because the disclosure is necessary to avoid assisting a criminal or fraudulent act by the client. So that's actually what he's doing in a nutshell. The penalties for violating these rules can be severe, including disbarment. So, what are a lawyer's obligations to assure that they are conveying true facts to others? And what happened if a lawyer was misled by a client and then made a representation of fact? Here are some tips to outline it. Lawyers often rely on clients to provide facts. It is reasonable and necessary for a lawyer to rely on their client to provide them with facts and information related to a representation, especially if the facts provided appear reasonable on their face. Was these facts reasonable? The material fact of the addition of a knife, was that reasonable? Of course not. All right. Indeed, in most cases, lawyers will not know what events took place prior to litigation without consulting and relying on their clients. Lawyers face risk, however, when the facts provided to them by their clients appear to be so unreasonable that asserting them in litigation could constitute a violation of Rule 11, the rules on candor or other obligations. That means no one in their right mind saw a knife. Maybe on Earth 2715 there was a knife, but no one in the video footage that I've seen across the internet, no one saw a knife. So if he were to move forward with that story as a defense to, let's say she was charged with assault for deadly weapon, she's saying it was self-defense because some other third party had a deadly weapon, which is a knife. It says, is the fact so unreasonable that asserting it in litigation would constitute a violation of Rule 11? Rule 11 says, once the trial starts, you have to be truthful to the court. If you aren't truthful to the court, you could have some big problems on your head. Pleading facts upon information and belief that later turn out in discovery not to be supported may not run afoul of any obligation, but there can be a risk if the lawyer continues to parrot facts even after learning that those facts are unsupported. I mean, I think all of y'all out here getting the A in professional responsibility because y'all knew this shit before I even read it. But because it was asked, I was like, let me give the official rules. All right. It says, although there is nothing inherently unreasonable about relying on reasonable facts provided by a client, Rule 4.1 prohibits lawyers from knowingly making false statements and misrepresentations to others in the course of litigation. That's key. The rule specifically outlines in the course of litigation. So right now in this early stage, because no charges was filed, but let's say charges were to come down the line. This is the super duper early stages. The obligation for the attorney to do fact finding is lessened than it would be as you get closer to the actual trial, because you have to do your independent investigation. You're going to get discovery from the state or from the government. And now you know. And this situation is a little bit different because, bro, there's a video out there. I mean, hello? But that's what the rule says. What if a lawyer discovers that their client has been untruthful? And we talked about this before. I told y'all a story I had. The obligation to be truthful can present a tricky situation if a lawyer later discovers that they relied on a client who shared false information. Comment 1 to Rule 4.1 provides that a misrepresentation can occur if the lawyer incorporates or infirms a statement of another person that the lawyer knows is false. Misrepresentations can also occur by partially true but misleading statements or omissions that are the equivalent of an affirmative false statement. If a lawyer discovers that a client made a false statement or misrepresentation, the lawyer subsequently communicated it to a third party. The lawyer may have an obligation, it doesn't say must, may have an obligation to correct the record unless the rule on client confidentiality, Rule 1.6, prohibits doing so. So in this case, I don't think anything on client confidentiality would prohibit it because this is information that she gave him that appears to be false by anyone with eyes or a computer. and it wouldn't be a prohibition of anything that's said and covered under attorney-client privilege because she gave him this information to convey to the public as her built-in defense if anyone were to assert any charges against her for jumping into the fray. Indeed, Rule 4.1b requires lawyers to disclose material facts to a third person when disclosure is necessary to avoid assisting a criminal or fraudulent act by a client, unless disclosure is prohibited by attorney-client privilege. Rule 1.6 gives lawyers the ability to reveal information in certain instances, while Rule 4.1 requires the disclosure of information when the failure to disclose will assist their client in committing a criminal or fraudulent act. You have an obligation, once you watch the same video that we already watched, that I'm sure you saw, to disclose, hey, there in fact wasn't no knife now that we had a chance to do it. And you have that obligation because if you don't, it would assist your client in a fraudulent act. And what would be the fraudulent act? Telling a truth, trying to potentially perpetrate a fraud to the court to give herself a self-defense argument. All right, taken together, a lawyer may be obligated to disclose certain information regarding criminal or fraudulent acts, but may need to do so with careful consideration of confidentiality obligations. Is the statement one of fact? Whether an attorney has an obligation to intervene to avoid assisting a criminal or fraudulent act by a client can depend whether the attorney has failed to disclose a material fact. So I think it's obvious that you're saying a knife was present when it wasn't. The inclusion of a knife is a material fact because it substantially changes the defense and the charges that could be brought for persons involved in this. All right. Whether an obligation is triggered often depends on the circumstances, but comment 2 provides some helpful guidance on the rule's scope and what constitutes an actionable fact. Comment 2 discusses specific type of statements that are not ordinarily considered statements of material fact that trigger a duty to provide corrected disclosure. For example, the comment recognizes in negotiations certain type of statements ordinarily are not taken as statements of material fact. It is expected that a statement may fall under the category of puffing. Puffing is embellishing. That's something that's allowed by the court when you're engaged in negotiations. If me and you are two attorneys and we're engaged in negotiation over some traffic accident, I can embellish certain things. I can puff up my chest and embellish certain things to potentially put me in a more favorable position to negotiate. Now, if negotiations fell down and we got to the courtroom, that's not going to fly. So it says, it is expected in negotiations that statements may fall under the category of puffing, such as bolstering the strength of one's case, are not considered facts regarding with which an attorney must always be truthful. So you can puff during settlement negotiations. You can be like, yo, we got a rock solid case. So, hey, my girl couldn't fit in the lift, bro. She couldn't fit in the lift. It's protected. Give up the bag. So even though you're like, yo, you know damn well you couldn't fit in that car. So, you know, like they can over embellish their facts to try to negotiate the case favorably. All right. Other examples in comment 2 of statements that do not constitute facts that warrant correction. So these are all things that don't warrant correction. You can cap a little bit during settlement negotiations. Estimates of the price of value placed on the subject or transactions, a party's intention as to acceptable settlement of a claim, the existence of an undisclosed principal, blah, blah, blah. All of this stuff surrounds settlement negotiation. You can cap a little bit, just how cops during interrogations, Supreme Court said that police officers can lie to a suspect during an interrogation. They can kind of engage in the same puffery to see if they can get the person they're conducting the interrogation with to either confess or to divulge some pertinent information. All right, then it says, thus lawyers are not prohibited from zealously advocating for their clients in negotiations, but they can consider whether their tactics would constitute a false statement of material fact such that it would violate Rule 4.1. So generally, and let me pull this up. I should have added this. Give me 1 second. Let me look something up real quick. Let me close that out. No, I don't need to save that. Let's close that out. I want to look up one more thing. Material fact. All right, I'm going to just read the definition of what a material fact is. I think we all got it, but I want to give you the definition just so you have it. But a material fact is something is so important. The entire posture of the case, the nature of the charges, the allegations are changed substantially. All right, the definition that they have for material fact. A material fact is a fact that is important, significant, or essential to a reasonable person in deciding whether to engage in a particular transaction, issue, or matter. It is relevant to the decision-making process, and its suppression could reasonably result in a different decision. So that makes why would Tiffany Henyard come up with a story to say that there's a knife? Because she knows she went, I guarantee you, she went and talked to her attorney. He probably did the same thing I did, went on YouTube and watched all of these videos to try to look at these different angles. And he like, yo, was that you in there with your muffin top flying across? What were you doing? You ran and jumped on the ground. Oh, that looked like Jedediah who was on the ground. Her attorney probably told her, I mean, I don't know. Beau Brindley reads off of a paper, but I don't necessarily think he's an incompetent lawyer. I think he's way better than Max Solomon. That's why when it's some real shit with criminal exposure, she goes to him and not Max Solomon. But I guarantee you, she sat down with Beau Brindley. He said, hey, charges probably won't get filed, but you could have some exposure here because it looks as if you jumped into the ruckus to attack a person who was on the ground, who was already getting stomped out, and you're just exacerbating the situation. You're just a third party who's also engaging in the melee. And not to mention, you're going in there with a microphone in your hand. It's not looking good. So I'm sure he told her that, and she probably was like, wait. Now, I don't know how this part turned out. It was somebody's idea to introduce a knife. Okay? I don't know if it was Henyard's idea. I don't know if it was his idea. It probably was Henyard's idea, but this is how, I would tell you, this is how attorneys ask things to their clients to be like leading questions, okay? They'd be like, man, you ran out there, you got out there fast. Why'd you get out there so fast? Did somebody have a weapon or something? Were they attacking Kamal with a weapon? And then they look at him and they say, like, sometimes the person get the ball and they be like, oh, I'm gonna lay it up. Yeah, somebody had a knife. Other times they may be like, nah, what you talking about? And I don't even think you're trying to infer it. It's just a question that you may ask. Well, I don't know. He could have been trying to infer it. But I'll ask those questions. For example, I had a case where, let me give you, no, I'm not going to tell about a specific case I had, but let me give you a fact pattern. You're assigned to defend a woman who's in custody because she stabbed her significant other, right? And you go to visit her at the jail. When somebody been in jail for a couple of days, eyes all puffy, they generally look disheveled because it's not like it's a damn Mac counter in there where they could get all glammed up. So they generally going to look disheveled. So you're going to be like, hey, what's your name? Okay. How long you been married? Okay. And then you're going to ask a simple question. Now, this isn't me leading them, but it's a question I need to know. I'm like, hey, were you being abused? It's just a question I'm going to ask. You stabbed this dude 10 times. I need to know if you were being abused. If you were abused in that, was there a pattern? Did you make calls to the police department? Were there protection orders? That'll change the dynamic of what we're going to argue when we go to trial. So most attorneys who are actually not shady, they ask these questions to get more information so they can represent the clients. But some attorneys do be like, hey, you weren't getting abused, were you? Because if you were, hey, you defending yourself. Like, so I don't know who introduced the knife, but it was clearly introduced for a purpose that was utterly, absolutely ridiculous. But clearly material. Let me check out some of these comments real quick. and we relatively early, so I think I'm gonna do. I think I could do one more story because I did want to talk about one more story related to Tiffany Henyard. But let me check out some of these comments real quick. Hey, I agree. I agree. These DC residents, we just like, man, let's just vote them back in. It don't make a difference. Let's see. I don't know. Interesting. So, hey, see, this is why I don't know. Like, I don't know. There was a knife. See, I don't know. This is why I'm not a fan of just posting a bunch of shit on social media talking about events after they happen. Because now, think about it. If you are saying if he did in fact say that there was a knife, and her position is there was a knife from a third party. I don't think she specifically said it was him, but she said it was just a third party. She just said there was a knife out there. Like that could impact Jed's ability. That although no charges are getting pressed because they just over this shit, and they probably got orders from the boss not to do anything. But saying something like that could hamper your ability to press charges on Tiffany Henyard for assault with a deadly weapon from coming in busting you over the damn head with a microphone. If you're like, yeah, it was a knife in there, and she's saying it was a knife in there, and I ran in there because they had a knife, and I was trying like, yeah. Sometimes I don't know, people, but that's it though. People talk all the time. You know how many times I've been in court during the first appearance. I literally was representing the guy for a trafficking charge, and I expressly started out by saying, hey, I'm your attorney. Here, we aren't here to argue the facts of the case. We're only going to do three things. We are going to address your bond. We're going to get you a court date, and I'm going to make my initial representation and sign my name as counsel. Do not discuss the facts of your case, because if you discuss the facts of your case, Madam Prosecutor over there is taking notes, and anything you say here on this jail line can and will be used against you in court. And they be like, okay, I understand. And then the judge will be like, did you fill out the affidavit, Mr. Jones? Because they give all the inmates an affidavit they got to fill out so they know how much income they got, family members, if they got to call somebody to make bond, all that general information. The judge will ask a simple question. Did you have a chance to fill out the paperwork, Mr. Jones? And Mr. Jones immediately he was like, let me tell you something real quick, Judge. I ain't know where I was going. Somebody just gave me a package and asked me if I could take it for a couple $100. And I said, yeah. I didn't look in the package. I had no clue what was in there. And I'm just sitting over there like rubbing my temples like, man, this is ridiculous. The judge literally was like, you just admitted to trafficking heroin. Are you sure you want to keep talking? And lo and behold, he just kept talking. And I'm not even going to tell you to shut. Once you start talking, there's no need to do anything. But I used to be like, man, just stop. No, Your Honor, he's going to shut up. Shut the hell up. I used to be. Now, when they start talking, I just sit back. And I'd be like, man, this dude's just flapping his gums. Because what I learned is if people are talking, that's not the first time they talk. Him being on that jail line in front of the judge, the same thing he told the judge, he probably told the arresting officer. The same thing he told the arresting officer, he probably told the officer who was processing them and booking and intake. So that story has been told multiple times. So I don't know. People get in the situation, and it's human nature to want to tell your side of the story, what happened. I don't know. That's just generally the best thing you could do is always be quiet. Yeah. Who knew this would be the thing that takes? Nah. Maybe 2 microphones, but no knife. Facts. He is required to give evidence of anyone wielding a knife. He should be sanctioned for lying. Like, they aren't going to sanction because he's not lying to anybody under oath. All he's going to do is say, I'm telling you what my client conveyed to me. And he probably going to say, like, there's a lot of video footage out there. I couldn't make the difference with all those crazy ass angles, but I think we all agree that it was cap and he was full of BS. Let's see. Yeah, he know that. I mean, like they probably both got a little Jim Carrey liar in them. You know what I mean? There were police and a security guard present, so there was no reason to thrust herself in harm's way. Yeah, if she want to stick to that story. I know it was no reason for her to thrust herself in harm's way, but okay, I know y'all. I know as soon as I say this, y'all gonna be like, man, here you go, Captain Saver. You putting your cape on. Hey, it's something kind of fly about a woman who willing to jump in there and make sure you don't completely get your ass whipped, okay? Me, typically, I'm gonna try to avoid being in that situation at all odds. But I don't know. Y'all let me know, fellas. Y'all let me know if it's two guys whipping your ass. On two guys is whipping your ass. You held your own for a few minutes, but essentially you can't. It's hard to overwhelm two grown ass adults, two grown guys, and they whipping your ass. Do you want your woman to come in intervening with a weapon, or you want her to just call the police and be a good witness? What do you want her to do? I kind of see both sides of it. One, I'm trying my best to never be in that situation where I would have to put my woman in that situation. But it's kind of something cool, like how fast she got over there. I ain't gonna lie, I was actually kind of impressed. I was like, I know it was kind of the whole show was a shit show. It was really hood, but it was something about it. I was like, damn, she ran out there and just said, fuck it. I don't know. I gave her a little bit of brownie points for that, even though she fabricated a knife, apparently. But it's something that's kind of cool about that. Like you kind of want somebody, hey, you want somebody who could fight, you want somebody who could fight with you, but can also fight for you. So I don't know. There's something kind of cool about that. Let me see. I think the other thing too that was funny too, Beau knows he doesn't care. I agree. He knows. He saw the video. I'm surprised though that she has so many goons. It seemed at least about 6 or 7. I'm surprised she has any. I don't know too. Like I'm gonna just be honest. Like, are they really like goons? Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I don't think they're really goons. I think they're just old ass middle-aged men still trying to act tough. Cause I mean, like, and I know there's some stories out there with people rolling up on people's houses and all that stuff, but like, if somebody want to touch you, it's 2025. Anybody can really get it. Let's just keep it a buck. People aren't hard to find. People know where everybody going. They probably know all of these routines. So I mean, yeah, they goons, but like, I don't think generally none of her goons want to go. I think her goons are goons who prefer going to prison for white collar crimes as opposed to some street stuff. Not saying they're opposed to, not saying they aren't opposed to kind of throwing hands and all of that stuff. But I don't know. I think they got some boundaries. I don't think they just straight up on some King Von type stuff. Yeah, Solomon, her other lawyer, got remanded for filing a case a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, Solomon is a mess. You see, when it's something real that happens, she'd be like, I'm gonna go get the white guy. See, like, if it's something like, oh, it's a little real estate transaction, like landlord-tenant situation, like, come on, landlord-tenant stuff. Most people don't have an attorney to handle a landlord-tenant case. Filing a little stuff with the election board, like most aldermen, A and C commissioners, they file those things unilaterally on their own. Like, I'm not, no shade to Solomon, but when it's something that could potentially be real, as soon as she on TV, I look beside her and I'd be like, uh-oh, she got a white guy. It must be real. Anytime she got a white counselor of law sitting beside her, I was like, this might be something that she's genuinely concerned about, and it might be some real exposure there. If I see Max Solomon, I'd be like, oh man, whatever going on, this ain't about shit. That's just always kind of been my take. Let's see. Interesting. Good question. Honestly, they could probably get the information if they did a FOIA request. They could, that's actually, hey, shout out to you. That's a damn good comment. It didn't even cross my mind, but yeah, if they do a FOIA request, they actually probably will get that. And the only reason that they would get it is because, again, we're just modeling and going off the federal rules, but there's no investigation. If there was an investigation or charge, it would fall under exemption 7A, active law enforcement investigation. So they wouldn't have to give it up. But of all the exemptions, it's not national defense, it's not internal HR shit, it's not statutorily accepted for some other reason, it's not a trade secret, it's not deliberative, they're not using it to make a decision. It is personal privacy protection, but they can redact that out. They can redact out faces of other individuals not involved, name identifiers that may be there from other officers, so they can redact that out. It's not interfering with an enforcement proceeding because they aren't pressing charges. No trial, no third party, no confidential source, no law enforcement technique. Yeah, if they did a FOIA request, that's actually a good ass point. If somebody did a FOIA request for that video, now the question is, are they going to process the FOIA request? Probably no, but it doesn't appear that that video would fall under any exemptions that would allow them to not provide it if it was requested. Goofball, not goons, goofballs. Time for them to talk to the FBI. Yeah, let's see. Goons can fight. Those guys just scratch each other. That's fine. I agree. They will be singing like a canary. Everybody's singing like a canary. 99.7% of people sing like a canary. The guy with the dreads hanging on the TV. That dude was trying to get a TV for the Super Bowl. Tiffany not bringing Alexis murder under state investigation like Fania Dukes will land her in jail, I think. Interesting. Let's see. Yeah, like you shouldn't find yourself in that situation as a guy. Really, realistically, you shouldn't find yourself in a situation, especially. I mean, everybody. I mean, I'm gonna just be honest. I'm old. I ain't old. I'm a mature older guy. All these guys participating in this shit, they are old enough to know better. Like they are old enough to know better. I'll tell you right now, I'm not. If I get in a fist fight, it's gonna be a problem. If I get in a fist fight, because I'm a vulnerable adult. If you get in a fist fight with me, I'm in fear of my life. I'm like, I saw you reaching. Right. But that's the other thing too, though. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's one thing if your guy get his ass kicked 1-on-1, you should definitely not help. 1-on-2, you might consider helping, but like, I don't know. You shouldn't put yourself in that position. That's what I generally think. I like you putting that allegedly there. Let's see. That's funny. I got another video I wanted to see. Did the police reports have to mention any knife? The police report would have to mention the facts as they were being alleged by the person who's giving it. Like, three of us could all see the same thing and we'll all three see different things. So if someone is saying, hey, I saw a knife in the police report, they're going to write down that this person stated they saw a knife. If they were smart, they would ask more detailed questions. Who was holding the knife? What was the individual with the knife wearing? Where was he located within this melee with the knife? Was he on the left side, the right side? Was he at the bottom of the pile? Like they should ask the appropriate probing questions, because normally what will happen when you ask questions to something that's bullshit, you get vague answers, and then you note in the file, individual was unable to provide any specific detail to the person who allegedly had the knife. We conducted interviews of 4 other persons, and none of those other persons mentioned having a knife, and they were all in either the same proximity or closer proximity to the center point of the scuffle than the witness who saw the knife was. So that's normally how it should go. But yeah, you can't It's your job when you're doing a police report to take the facts as the person gave them. You go through doing the investigation to find out what's bullshit and that on the back end. Yeah. Interesting. Now you're gonna make me go back and watch the video later, or that's interesting. If that was a planned attack, I'm telling you right now, like I'm not planning an attack on anybody, okay? I'm not planning an attack on anybody. But if I plan an attack on somebody and nobody go to the hospital, that's a fucking fail. like yeah, y'all effectively. If I thought y'all were goons, I'm moving y'all to the goofball category because I don't understand how someone could be on the ground and they get up and they look as if nothing happened. Look like they ain't even got a goddamn scratch on them. So I'm gonna be pissed if I orchestrate a planned ass whipping. Y'all better do y'all job and whip somebody's ass. I want them to look like that Martin mask when he fought Tommy Hearns. So I think I know what Jed was talking about, but so far removed from the actual fight that I don't think it could possibly go in her favor. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. All right, real quick, I got one more video I want to do. I got a good one. I think I'm gonna do a members only live stream tomorrow. I got an interesting video. I'm gonna show y'all what it is. It's actually a video of a lady who tried to weaponize the police against her boyfriend, and it went terribly wrong. I'll just leave it at that. It went terribly wrong. Let's see. Jay said that he didn't have a knife. It was his phone. Okay. So yeah, let's see. Hey, I don't know. I ain't saying you shouldn't put your woman in that situation. Like, you shouldn't be getting in fights as a grown ass man. I'm just be honest. But hey, I don't know. It's something about like, okay, yeah, you had my back. I'm just saying. I wouldn't want her to intervene because I'm telling you right now, if I was jumping somebody and woman jumped on my back, don't jump on my back because I don't know that you're a woman. You could really get yourself fucked up. So no woman should actually intervene in the fight because it could really lead you to getting fucked up big time. Because guys ain't like when I was growing up, like, oh, it's a woman, I'm not gonna do it. Man, guys nowadays they don't give a damn. Interesting. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now. If I was getting my ass whipped, I know for a fact that my woman is probably going to jump in the fight. Like, if I was getting my ass whipped if I'm getting my ass whipped by one person, I should have paid more attention when I was doing jujitsu. I should have paid more attention during those years of martial arts. I clearly haven't been practicing my ground technique. But yeah, if it's a couple guys jumping you, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I think most women are gonna be like, I think most women were probably jumping. I'm just gonna be honest. I think most women probably gonna jump in if their guy getting their ass whipped. I don't know. I would like to think so. I don't know. Y'all ladies say y'all wouldn't, but I think like if you don't jump in, you probably want him to get his ass whipped. Like, yeah, I ain't like you anyway. I think most women will be like, get off of him. And hey, women be throwing hands too. Not a knife though, yeah. Yeah, hey, it's a tough situation. Now, this is a crazy situation, right? It's one thing. All right, we going off topic here, but this is a crazy situation. All right. Now, let's say, all right, fellas, let's say this is a real question here. All right, you get into a tussle with a guy, right? And the guy is getting the best of you, and he proceeds to whip your ass. Your woman jumps in and says, "Get off of him!" And she grabs him, pulls him on, hit him with a quick 2-piece. knocks the guy out, and she gets you up off the ground, and you all puffy your shit. Would you rather have gotten your ass whipped and her not intervene, or would you rather her intervene, stop the guy who was whipping your ass? I don't know. That's crazy. Let's see. No knife is a setup from the beginning. I don't know. I think that's a crazy ass situation. I'm looking at some of these comments. It was definitely planned. They said they didn't have hands, but they had feet. That's funny. I don't know. Is there a way I could do that? I gotta look. I don't think it was planned. I think it was bound to happen. That's what I think. I agree with you. I don't know. It might have been planned like, yo, if he get out of pocket, we're gonna tune him up. But I think it was just something that was inevitable to happen just with the climate, the way things was. Yeah. That's a damn shame, bro. You 50-something years old fighting and shit. It's 50-something years old. That dude is gonna be sore for like the next 3 months. Yeah. What is the oldest age you were at? Like the last time you got in a fight, how old were you? The last time you physically got into like an actual fist fight, how old were you? Nah, she better not file a lawsuit. Yeah. She better not file a lawsuit. And I again, I don't know what. Well, she could. I don't know. She wouldn't have. I don't think she would have any grounds. I think you're right. I can't think of any reason she was. It was strange that she wanted to do public comments before the private meeting. I agree. I agree. I agree. Your man shouldn't put you in that type of situation. Hey, that's fair. That's fair. Like, damn, dog, you get your ass whipped in a one-on-one fight. I can see if it was 2 or 3 guys jumping you, but yeah, hey, that's a fair point. That's that's a fair point. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I don't think she has any legit claim. Yeah, I don't think she has a. I don't know what she would sue for. Like, she can't sue for a battery. I didn't see anybody assaulting her. She was the assaulter, not the assaultee. She was the assaulter, if that were an actual word. Let's see. She's been hoodwinked. Let's see. And led astray. Exactly. Most people aren't getting in fights as grown ass adults. Like, get in a fight over the age of 35. If somebody punch you in your face at 35, that shit gonna hurt for like 6 weeks. You both Power Rangers. In that moment, she's not your spouse. You both the Power Rangers. Her man was getting his ass beat. Yeah. I don't know about street justice. That's fair. But the wig stayed on. Facts. Let's see. Can a TV grabber be prosecuted? Yeah, hey, shout out to y'all. Y'all be trying to prosecute everybody for anything. Like, y'all you can't be prosecuted. I don't know if that was necessarily anything that criminal. Did he like take the TV off the wall though? I don't. I know he was hugging the TV, but like if he didn't remove it, if he damaged it, maybe. But yo, shout out to y'all. Y'all like y'all be trying to prosecute people for every damn thing. Y'all don't play no games. Yo, do y'all want to do one more video about the insurance situation there? I thought that was interesting. We only been going an hour, so let me see if I can pull that up real quick. We'll take a look at one more video regarding the lack of life insurance, which is crazy as hell. Hashtag I'm with Vizio. Like, hey, what kind of TV was that? That's the TV, the only person that everybody fighting for justice. That's hilarious. All right, let me pull this video up real quick. It's about the lack of insurance, which is absolutely terrible. And I hope that this got fixed, but this was just yesterday. I saw this yesterday. Let's go to my watch later screen.
New concerns in the village of Dalton 1 week after that scathing independent investigation laid out evidence of mismanagement of the village's finances. The village board held a meeting tonight, but Mayor Tiffany Henyard was not there. NBC5's Regina Waldrop has more on what the trustees did accomplish.
Trustees say they were surprised to learn that the life insurance policies for all village employees have been canceled for non-payment. They say this is yet another example of all the issues that Lori Lightfoot uncovered in her investigation.
Should the mayor arrive, she will take her appropriate space as the chair for this meeting.
Extra security on hand for Monday night's Dalton Village Board meeting, but Mayor Tiffany Henyard, a no-show. Her attorney telling NBC5 her security and safety was key. This meeting, the first following former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot's final report on the spending habits of Mayor Tiffany Henyard and her administration. She says Henyard intentionally tried to hide the true condition of village finances, with money being spent on large purchases from Amazon, travel, and at local restaurants.
To see elected officials who are the same race as the people in their towns doing this to them, it hurts my heart. I mean, it really does. That was frankly a big motivating factor for me to get involved in Dalton.
Henyard has yet to address Lightfoot's findings. Another surprise discovery for trustees: all village employees are now without life insurance. The policy canceled because of no payment since August of last year.
God damn.
That was new information for us. The board.
Man, they don't know. Nobody knows nothing. Nobody knows nothing about nothing. Like, could you imagine if, like, your spouse worked for the village for like 20 years and Lord forbid something happened and they passed away, and that life insurance policy through the employer is the only life insurance policy they got, and because it wasn't paid, you don't get shit? Man, that's absolutely crazy. I mean, and let's I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe this is just me. I don't know. How can you not know that the insurance wasn't paid? If everything else lapsed, I would assume that shit would have lapsed too. Like, if you ain't got no goddamn insurance on the buses, why the hell would you assume you got insurance on the bus drivers? I don't know. Like, that's crazy that nobody knew anything about anything. That's ridiculous.
That was new information for us. The board is very upset, and we're going to take the necessary steps to move it forward. We have to step it up, and we need to have multiple levels of oversight.
So lots of talk here about the upcoming election. Early voting starts February 10th. The primary happening February 25th. Reporting from Dalton, I'm Regina Waldrop.
That's fucking crazy as hell. That is the craziest thing. That's the craziest thing I ever seen. Let's see. She should be running track. She's now responsible for all of her expenses. I'm not sure. Tiffany can always pick up career in amateur boxing. Now, she get her ass whipped against somebody who actually knew what they were doing. Nah, she get her. You think she could fight? I don't know. I don't know, man. Street fighting and people who actually like been boxing and like real talk. Everybody should do like 6 months of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. If you do 6 to 8 months of jiu-jitsu, you'll have enough information to beat like 80% of the people on the planet, because people don't know what the hell they doing. They be out there throwing punches like shit. Tiffany hid everything from everything. That's crazy as hell. Yeah. I agree. I think that like the more stuff that comes out, the worse the trustees look to me too. Like, I get it that we know that Tiffany Henyard was the spark plug that kept this bad engine running, but goddamn, man, like, how oblivious? I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's ridiculous. I think a lot of people should be losing in the election. That's my thought. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Facts. My bad. I appreciate you for Judge Petty. I appreciate you for clarifying that. Yeah, but no insurance. Like, I knew a I knew an attorney when you got out of law school. You just want to get a job practicing somewhere, and they worked for this attorney who was a prominent attorney. Like he was really a big deal. Like once every couple of years, he would take his entire staff to like Barbados or some crazy place. Like damn, he was generally a big deal. You got to have. Well, I ain't gonna say you got to have money, but you got to have some form of resources to be able to do that consistently if you have a sizable staff. I want to say the staff maybe been somewhere between 15 to 25 people. Every couple of years, they go on this trip. But I remember talking to an attorney and they were like, man, working for him was terrible because like sometimes little things like that weren't taken care of. So like you try to go to the doctor and you give your insurance card and you're like, yo, why the hell isn't my damn insurance paid? Because little shit like that will fall through the crack. And that's shit that impacts people to life directly. Like health insurance, life insurance, like that's some shit that should not fall through the cracks. I don't give a fuck what the council, the trustees, the mayor, I don't give a damn what anybody got going on. You at least got to make sure you're taking care of the essentials for the people who actually work for the fucking municipality. So that's actually ridiculous and disgusting, and everybody should be embarrassed. Yeah. Interesting. Let's see. Yeah, hilarious. I think therein lies the problem, though. I think that one of the problems, and it was what Lori Lightfoot talked about, is one person should not be able to unilaterally fuck up an entire operational organization. If one person at the top can completely fuck up an entire organization, hey, it's funny when we talk about politics, we talk about can one person screw up everything? But generally, one person, even if that person is at the top, should not be able to screw up everything. That's the whole reason why power should be allocated amongst different persons. But I don't know. To have a system where the mayor can unilaterally wreak this much havoc shows that they didn't have any process in place, because there should be edits to stop this. You should have. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. I'm not an expert in municipality law, but I think it's kind of ridiculous. That's crazy. That's crazy that one person can fucking do all of that. That's the point. Yeah, the firefighters got screwed too. When the cops were getting all that overtime, the firefighter budget, I remember looking at their budget, it like stayed the same. It didn't go up until like recently. That shit crazy as hell. Let's see. They still gonna get paid. I know it's all too comfortable. Yeah. That's what when people aren't doing their job in politics, they should stop getting compensation. I agree. I agree with that, Lisa. I agree with that. Let's see. That's why everybody should talk to the FBI first. Tiffany not only shat on every ordinance, but maliciously disregarded them entirely just to keep them out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a geek who think that like, oh man, like I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know. I feel sorry for all the citizens who had to deal with all of this crazy shit, but they didn't get paid, and Tiffany didn't release invoices. That was the trustees' biggest problems. Yeah, the firefighters could file a federal lawsuit if they can prove theft of wages. I would love that lawsuit to hit. Mhm. Yeah, they won't never get that for you. They won't never get that for you. Yeah, they probably won't process it. And all you gotta do is like, if you know that, because I want to say I don't know what it is specifically in Michigan, but federally it's 20 or 30 days if it's a complex request. But If they don't file a request, all you got to do is just file a lawsuit, and then the court will make them disclose it. And then if you file a FOIA lawsuit because the government failed to respond in time, the attorney fees that you get for filing that lawsuit, the government will have to pay for them. So that's just more money going to waste for the taxpayers. I agree. You got to keep the vested employees are the ones with all the organizational knowledge. Those are the people you keep first. Let's see. Yeah, I know they got some of the FOIA requests because they filed lawsuits, but that's a whole nother process as well. But yeah. And FOIA lawsuits, trust me, I know, like attorney fees and FOIA cases, them just high as shit. But the judges here suck. Hey, that's fair. She should have been held in contempt like 50 times. And all those lawsuits, yeah, it's an absolute shit show. Yo, I'm about to get ready to hop off here. Friday. I'm trying to think. I got an old story that I want to do that one of the co-counsels recommended to me. I'm gonna show y'all one last thing so y'all can see the video. We'll handle that later. Yo, I'm about to hop out of here. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Long story short, it appears that Beau Brindley was capping. I'm sure he's aware that he was capping. I'm sure that he's aware. Oh, I guess the last thing is, well, if he did violate a professional misconduct rule, how would he be brought up to the actual board to like hold some type of sanction against him? Well, it would have to be a third party who brings that claim to the bar association. So it would have to be somebody like I'm not saying anybody should do it if y'all out there, but it would have to be somebody like I don't know. I was involved in the melee. I was there. I have several angles of the footage. There was no knife in the scene, and he's perpetuating this narrative that is a false narrative in an effort to create a defense for his client in the event that she has criminal exposure for assault with a deadly weapon. But it would require somebody to actually go to the bar association, and file a complaint for them to actually go into it and look at it. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I never looked up. That might be a good video for a later date. I never looked up Beau Brindley's history with the bar association, if he had any prior sanctions or reprimands or anything to that effect. But if he didn't on something like this, they would probably give him like a censure. It probably wouldn't even be a public censure. They probably give him a private letter like, yo, don't do this anymore. It's kind of wild that you out here capping like that, blah, blah, blah. But that's how that would have to go about to get filed. Let me see. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. I thought Lori Lightfoot said something about her cousin. And yeah, I think she did say like her cousin they had FOIA staff and they got rid of the real FOIA staff. And then she put her cousin in charge. And FOIA is not as easy. It's not as easy as I explain it to be. It's actually pretty complicated. Yeah. That's petty, so I know who changed the email. That doesn't seem like something Tiffany would know would know how to do. Couldn't all the videotapes be subpoenaed? The videotapes can't. I mean, who's going to subpoena them? In order for something to be subpoenaed, it has to be like an investigation or a legal proceeding or something like that. So without no type of legal proceeding, no criminal civil investigation, nothing like that, no police investigation, there's nothing to be subpoenaed. There's no subpoena power from any entity to actually get the records. So the only way that the public could get them would be through a FOIA request. And because there's no investigation, there's a good chance that they would probably have to give over the body cam footage, but redact out everybody's PII. So all of the facial images, any names. On the body cam footage, they have an identification number at the top or the bottom or whatever it is that's associated with that officer. They normally blur out all of that stuff because it can identify an individual. Yeah. Yo, that's it. I appreciate it. Y'all take care. Y'all have a good night. Be safe. Be blessed. Peace.